But just today, we are talking about alcohol, and I wanted to use our space today to talk about alcohol, the physical effects of alcohol, and then also spin that into just some thoughts I have about alcohol and wellness culture. And so I hope that this can be a dialogue. I'm going to share my thoughts. Sometimes I have a specific and direct opinion on something, and sometimes the therapist in me can see all 20 sides of something, and so I have a hard time coming to my own, like, and this is what's right type of situation. I'm very empathetic. I can understand a lot of different situations, but for some things with this, I have some specific, like, hard stops on the topic. And so I look forward to doing that. I look forward to saying it's a no for me. Okay. I wanted to talk about the effects of alcohol on your body. Okay. These are not conversations that everybody wants to hear, but it's a conversation that everybody needs to hear. And it's not just for the people who have a problem with alcohol. It's for people who are wanting to make sure that the things they put in their bodies are supporting their forward movement and their wellness. Okay, so the same critique that we give carbs, the same critique that we give processed food, the same critique that we give sugar and all the other things, we have to kind of take that same lens and look at alcohol. And this is, I'm already getting into some of my issues with with wellness culture around this, because we collectively, culture in general, are very particular about other things that we put in our bodies. We are very critical, of different substances and different foods and stuff like that people put in their bodies. And we have very stark and clear opinions on that. And then it gets a little blurry when it comes to talking about alcohol. And I just find that to be interesting, that we evaluate everything else very finely, and then alcohol is kind of like that. Yeah, you get a pass for that. Here's how to make a skinny margarita or a skinny martini. But anyway, we're going to get into that after we talk about the physical effects of alcohol on your body. So first things first, to know that your body, and I have looked up some information to share with you all about this. I am not an expert in all the things. I just know what I know, and then I go to the internet for things that I do not know. So we are going to talk about the role of alcohol in your body to a certain extent. Certain things I do not know is about the biology and the chemistry, and some things that I don't always know about it are the ways the alcohol actually gets into your body. Okay, so we ingest it and then we get tipsy, right? That's all I really ever knew. As your body is trying to digest and really purge of the alcohol, it is making its way into every part of your body. Okay. And so even drinking a small amount has this effect. And I think that that's something to be, cognizant of, is that it's not necessarily an amount that makes this happen. This happens, every single time. It's just about how much you feel, I guess you could say, how much you feel the effects that are happening throughout your entire body. So even when we're drinking in moderation, alcohol is being absorbed and moved throughout our entire body. We just have to be aware of that. Okay. It gets into your bloodstream. About 20% of it goes through your stomach, and then the rest gets absorbed, goes through, through your stomach, and then the rest of it goes through your bloodstream. The alcohol being in your bloodstream, from my understanding, is what makes your body feel warm and cozy, and all the things that we temporarily enjoy, getting hot and sweating. I don't know if you've ever been out for a night, it's like, whoo, it's getting hot in here. That is alcohol taking its effect on your body. Okay. It also makes its way to your brain by way of your bloodstream. And so that is where we start to have cognitive issues, whether that be blurred vision, slurred speech, physical impairment, clumsiness, running into things, stumbling over things. That is kind of where some of that wooziness comes from, right? And so from there, once it's fully in your body is also going to be trying to get rid of it. And so that is where your kidneys and your liver come into play in trying to detox you from what you've just ingested, which is foreign to our bodies. Okay, so the wooziness and the different feelings that we get, even the dopamine release too, but the other impacts that we feel are actually things that doing more harm. Right. So if there's alcohol in my bloodstream, what is it actually doing to my blood vessels? What is it actually doing to how my body stays hydrated? And, which is through your bloodstream as well. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot to take into consideration around, okay, so if it's making me feel hot, then what is it doing to my heart? What is pumping me up to feel hot and sweating profusely, or whatever the case may be? What is it about alcohol that's doing that? And how does this look on the back end? I think that's what I'm trying to get at. Okay. So what are some effects? We talked about them in a previous video, but some of the effects that alcohol has on your body: it depresses your central nervous system. Essentially, it's going to slow things down that don't necessarily need to be slowed down, and it's going to increase things that don't necessarily need to be increased. Okay, so it's going to depress your central nervous system. Some people get a jolt of energy for a while because of the dopamine and because of some of the other effects, but ultimately it is going to slow you down. You're going to get tired. You're going to get fatigued. Different processes within your body are going to start to slow down. Okay. You might experience digestive issues. There might be, over time, of course. Actually, I'm going to go with the digestive issues can be almost immediate. Okay. I can't tell you how many times I've heard of people saying, my body, I drank, something, and it didn't sit well with my stomach, like almost immediately. Okay. And so digestive issues temporarily can also move into digestive issues for the long term. So we just want to be mindful of that. I think one of the big kickers with this is dehydration and sleep issues, right? And so dehydration, alcohol is diuretic. Why is it a diuretic? It's a diuretic also because of the function of alcohol, but also because your body is trying to hurry up and get rid of the toxins, basically, and so how does it do that? Through your liver, through your bladder, through your kidneys, and flushing the substance out. And so that leads to the headaches, dry mouth, dizziness, the fatigue, sluggishness, really just feeling really bad. All the things we know that come with dehydration are absolutely at play when we've been drinking. And then sleep disruption, I think, is another one. Just as much as it suppresses your central nervous system, that is not a natural process. That is not the release of melatonin for you to go to sleep and enter REM sleep. That is just a shutdown of the functioning of your body. That's really what that is. And so I know a lot of people sometimes will think that the tiredness that they get from alcohol is like their body actually getting tired as if they were going to bed in any other day of the week. No, that's actually a different function. Might feel the same, but it's a different function than actually being ready for bed and your body releasing melatonin into your body in order to start that process. Okay, so sleep disruptions come in that the alcohol temporarily suppresses your central nervous system. Once the alcohol starts to leave your body, everything gets ramped back up, maybe even more so than before. And then that's where we wake up in the middle of the night, or we have anxiety the next day, or we are restless, or we have just like a general increase in energy, or just energy is not the word I'm looking for. I'm missing my words right now, but you guys know what I'm saying. Just an increase in energy. I guess really just energy all around. Okay. Some other things I wanted to mention, kind of more in the severe points of drinking, but very relevant to the functioning of your body, because where there is damage, there was a beginning. And so when we talk about liver damage, when we talk about other digestive issues, ulcers, and that sort of thing, when we talk about weakened immune system, those things kind of feel like they would be more chronic, but chronic issues have a starting place. You know what I'm saying? And so we have to be mindful of the impact of things, even in the quote unquote temporary, when it comes to wanting to really reach our best. Okay. So those are a few things that I wanted to share with you, just physical implications, just to set the stage for this other side of the talk that I actually want to have with you guys, okay? And this is a conversation around alcohol and its presence in the wellness culture, okay? More specifically, alcohol and self-care, and then alcohol and fitness events, fitness things, whatever the case may be. Okay. So let's start with alcohol and self-care first. All right. Oftentimes we do find, we've talked about this before, that having drinks, having a glass of wine with your friends, winding down with your favorite beverage, that sort of thing is often looped with self-care. Okay, I'm getting in the bath and I'm having a glass of wine, or I'm going to the nail salon and they have champagne. Oh, I'm getting a pedicure and I'm having champagne, or I'm having a massage and this, or we could really list a bunch of different things that are used in this way. And I want you all to, I don't have an absolute directive on this one, but I want you all to be very mindful about how you associate what I just said about alcohol's effect on your body with the concept of self-care. Okay. It's almost like they're contraindicated, like they're complete opposites in the sense of self-care means to do things that would take care of my mind, take care of my body, allow me to have a reprieve, allow me to truly relax, allow me to take it easy. And when I think about the realities of the effect of alcohol, is that actually moving me forward, taking care of my mind, my body? Is that actually allowing me to relax? It's a question you have to ask yourself. It's really a question you have to ask yourself. And that is the case even in moderation. Will one drink hurt? No, it won't hurt. I guess that's relatively speaking. Will one drink hurt you? It's likely not. But is that one drink in alignment with what the purpose of your self-care is? Is that actually getting you to where you want to be? For someone like me who had a relationship with alcohol like I did, the self-care part became a part of the problem. Because now I need self-care every day, right? I need self-care every day. And so that became a part of the justification. That became a part of my consistent coping routine. That became the replacement. And so we have to be mindful of how self-care and alcohol are really married to each other. Should they be? Is this serving me well? Do I actually feel better the next day? Or do I feel like I just had a complete reprieve from life and then now I'm right back at square one, which is not where I want to be? You know what I'm saying? When we're thinking about self-care, we're thinking about being at your square one, like your ground zero, and trying to build yourself up, trying to fill your cup back up, right? As opposed to something that's going to fill your cup up for a temporary point in time, and then by the next day, and then by 4 hours later, you're right back to having really not done any self-care at all. Can alcohol and self-care coexist? I'm going to go with it depends. And that's a big it depends. Okay, you got to check your relationship with it. But I will recommend that you absolutely need to be making sure that this is happening in moderation. Okay. The CDC and all the organizations recommend no more than one drink for women and no more than 2 drinks for men. And that's based off of weight, body composition, gender, and that sort of thing as to why it's 2 for men and 1 for women. Okay. So, you absolutely, I think, would need to be trying to do your best to align with those things, and knowing what a drink actually is, knowing what one drink actually looks like, and making sure that you're being cognizant of that when you're moving into self-care. Okay. I would also say you need to make sure you have some options. Okay. So if you're relaxing with a glass of wine, or relaxing with your favorite drink, or celebrating with your favorite drink, whatever the case may be, what else do you do? Okay. If drinking is a part of your top 5, if drinking is a part of your top three ways of coping with life and things that you have to look forward to, I'm going to say that that's not a good positioning for alcohol in your life. Okay. If you can list 10, like nine other things that you can do and that you do to take care of yourself, and alcohol, a drink in moderation happens to be one of them, that's a different conversation, right? But if you can only think of 5 ways or 3 ways that you relax at the end of the day, and alcohol is one of them, I'm going to say that's a very limited way of coping with life. And that is really kind of putting alcohol up there as a 20% of the time. And let's be honest, we don't always guesstimate how often we're actually dipping into that 20%. So even though it's one of the 5, it might actually be 40% of the frequency, if that makes sense. So you have to be honest with yourself and make sure you have plenty of other options that you actually use, all right, to help you engage in self-care. Next thing I would say is your purpose and your intentions, okay? If you are using alcohol in any way as a part of a self-care routine, be clear in your intentions. Like, am I really using this to unwind and enjoy a movie, or am I doing this to forget about the work day I had, or the marriage that I'm in, or to drown out the kids, or to escape from having to think about where I've come to in my life for whatever reason, to really think about the intentions around why you are drinking in that moment. Allow yourself to be honest with yourself. No one else is involved. This is just you being honest with yourself. The moderation, if you are drinking, is self-care, or if drinking is a part of your self-care on any level, I want you to make sure that you're drinking in moderation and knowing exactly what that is, being honest with yourself about that. I want you to have plenty of options, more options than you really could use at any given time, and make sure that you're using those on a rotating cycle, on a rotating basis, okay? So if you find that you have 10 ways of relaxing and coping with life, but you've gone to the alcohol one 4 nights this week or 2 nights this week instead of the other things, or you're using alcohol to do the other things, like instead of just taking a bath, it's drinking and a bath. Well, can you do just the bath and that's it? Can you light the candles, read a book, and that's it? Can you watch the movie? Can you cook dinner? Can you journal? Can you even go to therapy? I've had people that have incorporated, or not even incorporated, but maybe even just found themselves drinking during a therapy session. And that would be something where I'd be like, okay, so let's talk about, why that's having to happen at the same time in order for you to touch base with yourself and get grounded with your emotions. So, and then lastly, your purpose and intention. Am I doing this solely for the enjoyment of the activity, or am I doing it to avoid something else in my life that I don't want to think about? That's a different intention than I'm just, engaging in this because I enjoy the hobby of it or the experience of it, versus I want to forget, I want to escape, I don't want to think about it. That is a slippery slope, and that has an emotional tie to it. We must talk about my thoughts on drinking and wellness culture in a different way. Okay, so what am I talking about when I'm talking about this? I see often, as a sober person, I see often a lot of association, similar to what we said about self-care, but a lot of association with different types of exercise and alcohol. So let's say there's a beer 5K, or there's a brewery that is hosting a 5K. And the idea is that you go, you run the 5K, and then when you get back, you get 2 drink tickets for beer. Okay. I have a specific problem with that. I have a pretty direct problem with that. Both from, it's kind of confusing, but also if we talk about those physical effects of alcohol, it's a direct opposition. It's in direct conflict with what we're talking about. But also wine and yoga, or yoga and wine, right? I don't know if you guys have heard about these types of events, but oftentimes those things are paired together. Okay. I don't know if I've seen champagne with anything physical per se. I'm trying to think if I've ever seen that. But I've definitely seen flag football games with beer involved, with alcohol involved. I've seen 5Ks, especially with beer involved, and even hosted by breweries. And that's just, it's. I understand why the brewery's doing it. I just think that there's just major health issues involved and associations with that are very problematic. And then also yoga and wine. And I haven't ever been to a yoga and wine event. To be honest with you, it just obviously doesn't really tickle my fancy. I don't know if they do the drinking while doing the yoga or if the drinking comes after. I know with the 5Ks, it's generally like after. Actually, I heard of a recent 5K where, ooh, it makes me shudder. They drank every quarter of a mile. There was a beer. Woo, woo. Oh my goodness. Maybe it was a beer, maybe it was a sip. I don't know. There was a drink every quarter of a mile. Y'all, you can walk a mile in 20 minutes. That's and this is assuming that they're having like the whole beer. I don't know if they would have like shots of something that's like less than a drink or whatever, but if you're having a beer 5K, chances are, the point probably is to get inebriated at some point. And so that was interesting to me. I was like, wow, that seems like if we're talking about dehydration, increased heart rate, fluctuations in blood sugar, impairment, all these other issues in conjunction with the 5K, in conjunction with yoga, where you actually need to stay hydrated, you actually need to stay coordinated, you actually need to stay focused. It just seems like a lot's going on there. Here's my opinion on alcohol being involved in those types of fitness events, wellness events. Hard no for me. It's a hard no. And if I would say that to anybody, it's a hard no. I understand why, someone might find that to be fun. I think that alcohol companies and businesses are capitalizing on the idea of these two fun things being put together, but your health is not one of them. And those events are not wellness events or health events. Those events are drinking events that have a cool concept, quote unquote, right? So let's just be honest about it. This is not for your health. The 5K is not for your health. The yoga is not even for the health benefits, or even the emotional benefits. Yoga has elements of it that are supposed to be grounding and help you get connected with your body. And so if you're putting a substance in your body that's commonly used to forget or to, take a step back or a reprieve from whatever your emotional experience is, if it's numbing you and warming you and getting to your brain and, causing different things to take place, that is not helping you get in touch with your body. That's actually you getting in touch with alcohol. Okay. That's literally all that is. Okay. So my concerns are safety and impairment first and foremost. We know the function of alcohol in the body, slurred speech, instability, all of the different things that take place. And that happens with one drink. And if it doesn't happen to you with one drink, I would say that is because your tolerance is 2 drinks. And if it doesn't happen to you at 2 drinks, I would say that's because your tolerance is 3 drinks. And we've already talked about what tolerance does to the body and where tolerance comes from. So either way, I have major safety concerns with playing sports, running 5Ks, doing yoga, working out, going to the gym, whatever the case may be, and drinking before, during, or after. I will say before, during, or after. The second concern I would have is dehydration. Full stop. You are engaged in physical activity where you're already going to be sweating, and then it gets exacerbated by the function of alcohol in the body. That is not only a present concern, but that is a concern for what happens to you after you stop the exercise as well. It also elevates your heart rate. Okay, so if I'm working out and I'm running, my heart rate is already elevated. I don't need the blood vessels to be, I don't need all that to be happening and working with my heart at the same time. Okay. And then also fatigue, right? I'm already working out. It's already going to be hard. The last thing you want to do is add this element in that is literally making you more fatigued and making you more tired based off of the physical issues that come along with it and the impact that it has. It's just a no-go for me, you guys. It's just a no-go for me. There's the same impact before, during, and after exercise or fitness of any kind. Okay. So some people might say, oh, well, if that's the effect of alcohol, I'll wait until after. I would say, and I agree with the doctors, but I also disagree, in general, my 2 cents is that it's going to have the same effect. Okay. It's going to have the same effects on your body. It's just the order. Okay. There is no like getting out of them. Like if I run first and then I drink, then I won't be as dehydrated. No, you're going to be just as dehydrated. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. The headaches may even be worse. The dizziness may even be worse. All of those, the dry mouth, everything about it may even be worse. And so there's not a whole lot of difference around whether you do it before, during, or after as to these impacts. If anything, maybe the safety and the impairment one. That's pretty much it. There's more research around the effect of alcohol on your muscle recovery, and other aspects of just really getting the best out of your performance. So if you're thinking about, gaining strength, rebuilding muscle, recovering any injuries or any other issues that you have, alcohol is not making those things any better. It's probably delaying them and slowing the body's process down from being able to do those things. So I think that we have to be clear on the way that marketing plays into what we consider wellness and what's included in our wellness plan and our wellness journey and our self-care. Okay. And so a lot of the things that you see promoted are very much so being promoted to you. Okay. And promotion doesn't necessarily have your best interest at heart. It's a financial gain. It's an exposure thing. It's how can we get the most people here? How can we get the most people involved? What do we need to play off of to make this really fun and, and appetizing to the target audience that we want? Okay. That is typically what's going on. Okay. Nobody really wants to hear this conversation around how we might be choosing to involve something in our wellness plan that is sabotaging our wellness. We don't want to think about that. That can actually be the case with incorporating alcohol into your lifestyle in that way. And we all have free will. We all get to make the decision. But it's also okay for us to be honest with ourselves about what we are doing. But that is generally what I have to offer for you all today. Take a second look at why you're engaging in what you're engaging in. That goes for alcohol, any other substances, any other behaviors that are sabotaging your progress. I would tell you to do the same type of evaluation. We just so happen to be talking about alcohol for today. And I think that knowledge is power. Knowledge is definitely power. As we get enlightened to a certain amount of information or a certain perspective, it is really hard to go back to thinking in the old way. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that the knowledge that we can learn and obtain doesn't support us staying stuck. Okay. The knowledge that we are seeking is helping us do something different and know something in a different way and be aware in a different way, not to enable us to remain the same. And so thank you. Thank you for your time. Okay. You guys have a good night.